Welcome to a true spiritual adventure story like the world has never known. Volume 1, Living the Enlightened Life, with your host, Dr. James Yogadhi Weldon. This is Dr. James Weldon, Yogadhi, speaking to you from Heavenly Mountain and the community here, which is developing. I really haven't talked too much about that, about Heavenly Mountain yet. That's a project in this series of this book that occurs some years later. We have quite a community here in Boone, North Carolina, the United States, on 1,000 acres. It's a huge multi-million-dollar community and facility, which is also home to the main retreat center for the Art of Living Foundation for this hemisphere. And it's really a city of light. And there are many people who live on the mountain, who have homes here, and thousands of people visit this facility from all over the world. The retreat center that's here, I operate and run the Heavenly Mountain Lodge. And I'm the founder of the community here. Sometimes we have 4,000 or 5,000 people here and take up literally all of the hotels in town when the founder of the Art of Living comes here and visit 100 yards up the road. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's continue our discussion. You're welcome to make a comment, write me, text me. Yogadhi is my Facebook leaning, my spiritual name. Today we're going to be talking about healing and blessing. I may have mentioned in the last section that I had become a nature cure naturopathic doctor. A lot of the healing capabilities, which we all have, the ability to heal and bless, were beginning to occur quite strongly now at this point. So in my practice at that time, this time in my life back in Michigan, my wife is a school teacher holding down the practical side of life. And I'm developing a clinic with several doctors there, Saginaw, Michigan at that time. In my practice every day, I'm seeing that in many ways our body is a temple of the divine. When patients would come in the door, my body appeared like a mirror reflecting their conditions. This oneness that we're talking about is really, really quite real. And as you begin to realize that you're not just living in this little space, that really the whole universe is contained in your connection to the divine, a lot of unusual things will begin to happen. And the purpose of writing this book is to help people understand that those are quite real and practical. So when patients would come in the door, my body would actually be like a mirror. If they had a headache, I feel a headache. And if they're unhappy, I feel unhappy. And then sometimes this inner part of seeing, which is known as pragya, those of you that are connected now, this great organization, the Art of Living Foundation, now know that there's a very much deeper aspect called pragya yoga, which they're just beginning to enter into teaching a lot of that, and the children are doing it. But sometimes this inner seeing sees into the depths of their mind and body, but I don't say anything. I mean, what do? I'm not really interested in impressing anyone, but I remember once a patient came in and he had angina pain, and the angina pain because of heart from clogged arteries, and he leaves feeling much better, but I'm in pain for literally 3 days because of the deep oneness I'm feeling with him. And usually the pain of others that I feel and sense, don't withdraw from that if that's happening. Some to you is balanced by the joy within. We also ultimately discover that pain and pleasure, happiness and sorrow, life, and even death are one long continuum of the same existence. It's a long continuum. I remember a young man comes in to see me, and he has a very advanced state of cancer, and he's considering a very radical surgery and wants to ask whether with natural health care or he should undergo the surgery. I'm remembering that as soon as he comes into the room, I fall into, I guess you would call it, transcendental state, and like a window, his body opens to my mind, and this spontaneous state of knowing is not something that you need to try to do. Don't try. It's a happening. And images of his body fill my awareness, and I can see cancer is spreading to many parts of his body, and like a boiling foam of beautiful crystal beads, the cancer is filling many of his lymphatic tissues. You know, the amazing thing is that even that cancer didn't feel to me as evil or wrong at all. And the life and the light within the cancer I'm seeing now is the same that powers his body. And as the coordination between the cells breaks down, the cancer cells are following their own path, oblivious to the destruction of the body. In a way, this is the same as what happens in our own life. We don't realize that the enlightened mind and the spirit behind all of life seems that society is in chaos. And is it any wonder that our bodies can reflect this as well? Seeing disease and the breakdown in other people's bodies, I realize that now as an adult, I'm tied to a million things this way. My identification with my body, my mind, my intellect, my senses is a billion times stronger than I ever imagined it was. This kind of craving, deep craving, prevents my mind from fully realizing the divine hidden within me. And then different practices like meditation, deep breathing, yoga postures, and other things associated with self-realization help diminish this craving. But I see from this point of view, I still have a long way to go at that time. I'm wondering what or who can help me. And even undergoing all these experiences after 10 years in natural health care, now I've been practicing for a while, I'm in a crisis. Because I wonder, what am I really searching for in my healing practice? Am I really just a fraud selling a few tricks to make people feel better? And I wonder why so few of the people that I meet improve really dramatically. And even when I teach my patients meditation, it's not enough. No one seems to find the healing power that had changed my life. And I wonder, what must I do to fully discover this and help pass it on to others? Sometimes when I'm with them, I can see this miraculous power transforming a patient and bringing them back to health. What is this power and how is it given? I'm working with chiropractors in the United States, medical doctors, osteopaths, psychologists, body workers, and some psychic spiritual healers, and I see a pattern emerging. Sometimes a new spark of life comes back into a patient and absolutely fantastic healing occurs. This spark of life arising within is really what I want to awaken in my patient. And I begin to discover that there really is an ultimate healing energy, and that this, in the Indian terms, this healing energy is called Shakti, and that this unseen force actually operates our body, and it's the same power that appears to be omnipresent in the universe. And even when I was a child, I would see this force. If you took the time to read some of the very early chapters in this ongoing saga, early episodes, you'll see that I would kind of sit in dark spaces and look at the walls, and I would see the shimmering energy behind things. And even from my earliest memories, I saw and felt about me a vast pool of life and vital intelligence. And that these extraordinary rapid healings that sometimes occurred with people I was working with came with love. This universal energy, known in the earth as Shakti, follows that love like a magnet. And in my studies, as I began to study, spiritual healers around the world, I saw that the greatest healers somehow learned to really live to some degree as one with this all-accepting love. And the Shakti, the life force, follows their intentions and healing begins. And if a patient can hold this energy, take advantage of these blessings and hold it, culture it, develop it, then health is regained. And I've seen unbelievable healings occur over the years. People that were long thought to be gone, and they come back. And then others that faded and passed. There's a part for that, obviously. we're all going to exit this world. No matter how immoral you may feel, no matter how young you are right now, I'm telling you, this body is going to eject you. It's going to eject you at some point. And whatever therapy was being used by the different doctors, in some ways just appeared to be a way to allow this process to happen. And in the final analysis, now I'm not saying don't do whatever you need to do to get healthy. Don't take it that way. In the final analysis, in the deepest sense, no therapy at all is needed. And that sometimes just a glance or a touch of love is enough. You know, this is what happened to me. When I came in contact with the greatest, who I consider the greatest healers, blessers of them all. The story of the secret journey, my meeting with 3 of these great enlightened beings. I didn't know who the third was at that time. I didn't attach that to a person, even though I now know, of course, that person was there and very young, that I met in 1976 in Switzerland. And that was a few segments before. It'd be a good idea to listen to that because it's pretty amazing. You know, in meditation, as I looked at the healing energy, I began to see a kind of divine light burning in all the cells in the body. And all those cells are in contact with this life force, Shakti, if you will, drawing their intelligence and life from it. And as the life force increases, you know, in my awareness when I'm with them, I saw that these little cells begin to burn a little brighter. And another form of this energy is spiritual heat. There can be heat. And often now in my meditation, we talked about the chakras and all of the energy centers. This heat started to really start turning up. And often I experienced this heat starting in my forehead and spreading throughout my chest and solar plexus and navels and hands. And rarely in my practice, I would fall into this unbelievable state of love. And I would look at them uncontrollably and something would jump from my body. My experience is that the impurities in the form of anger, greed, fear, worry, ignorance, as well as physical toxins, could be consumed, neutralized by this energy. And occasionally in my meditation now, as my spiritual adventure continues, guys, I'm laying it out. I'm not hiding behind anything, not trying to make up anything. Before I wrote all of this, actually, I spent many years looking very carefully to make sure everything that I explained in here was exactly, as far as I knew, is what happened. And I'm finding I'm burning with this energy from head to foot. And sometimes it's concentrated and it's like little flames are dancing throughout my body and mind. Sometimes I saw that what's going on could really have a powerful effect on those about me. Those of you that know about the blessing programs that are taught, this energy continued to get stronger and stronger. So one morning in a group meeting, sometimes I would meet with groups at my clinic, in my practice, and all of a sudden my hands become burning hot, really hot. And I can't control it at all. And all of a sudden the energy kind of jumps to one person. It just moved, and this person begins to cry uncontrollably. And we all gather around this person, and soon we're all crying and laughing, just like it spread throughout the entire group. And she says, suddenly I'm feeling an overwhelming sense of love for all of you. And it was so beautiful that I couldn't help myself. And that we were all affected in the same way. It was like a huge wave of consciousness swept us all up and carried us off to some magical spiritual place. And I'm overwhelmed too, because I realized that I'm really not in control of this spiritual power within me. Something amazing is now manifesting, and it's going to go through its process no matter what I think. Another time during a meeting, I'm in the meeting and all of a sudden I'm vanished as far as I'm not even there. Obviously my body must have still been in that room, but my awareness becomes lost in some inner place for no reason. And when I open my eyes later, everyone in the room is just gone into a blissful state of meditation. You know, did they see me close my eyes and do the same? Some of them had not even ever meditated before. And the influence of all the energy just swept them away into the bliss anyway. Now, many of you who know about this wonderful, fabulous spiritual teacher and some of the others I've been connected, you understand this. You understand this because one way or another you've been connected with that and felt that from time to time. And this is wonderful and sometimes scary at the same time. I'm beginning to realize that I've lost total control over my life and that this power is beautiful, but I don't understand or control it at all. So again, I'm trying to put all of this in a perspective as I'm going through this. I wrote another little short story to try to just get it out. I'm trying to just let go of this. And it's called The Story of the Nomad. Story of the Nomad. So once there was a nomad who owned a very strange camel. And he complained bitterly because his camel is unusual. All the other camels walk straight ahead, but this camel walks sideways like a crab. You know, a crab walking across. Instead of walking forward, this camel would go sideways. And sometimes it would even walk backwards, ignoring all the directions. I would be on the camel. The nomad doesn't want to be different, but he has no choice. One day, it's a trip into the desert and finds a very secret oasis. And on the way, there's this huge sandstorm that comes, and he loses his ways. And for days, he's wandering in the storm, oblivious, using up every bit of all of his provisions and all of his water. As the storm becomes more fierce, he begins to pray. Dear God, Allah. But he was praying to Allah. He's saying, oh, save me and my camel. I don't care what you do with me from now on, but I promise that if you save me, I will never, ever complain again. And Allah, God, is listening, but the storm continues to get worse. And as he's walking along, the sand buries his legs. And he prays, oh, God, save me. I don't care if you let my camel die. Save just me. And Allah, God, is listening, but the storm continues to get worse. And the sand buries his body. And again, he bargains with God. He says, okay, God, okay, now I'm going to die. Just let someone find my body and return it to my home so I may have a decent burial. And God, Allah is listening, but the storm continues to get worse. And the sand is now up to his neck. And he says, oh God, I don't care if they find me. Okay, just let my wife and children remember me and my deeds. Remember in my deeds. And again, God is listening, but the storm continues without any change. And as the sand reaches his nose, finally the nomad lets go and says, okay, I give up. All I want to do is die. And I give up everything, my family, my good wealth, even my good name. Let your will be done. And the nomad dies. So he's dead. So right away, he finds himself in heaven. And as soon as he wakes up in heaven, he begins to complain. He says, oh, God, how could you let me die this way? What did I do to deserve this? Now, my wife is miserable. My children hate me. No one will remember my name. And as he reaches the gates of heaven, he turns back. The gatekeeper sees him and smiles on the gates of heaven, saying, go back. Thank your camel, which has saved your life. So meanwhile, the desert and the storm is over. And all the time, the camel he was riding on is completely safe and sound. He knows by instinct what to do. And it lies lies down, he turns away from the wind, as camels do. I'm not a camel rider. And he waits things out. And as the nomad opens his eyes, he finds himself in his body again, being relieved by very cool, fresh water. He's tasting water on his lips. And as it turns out, it was true. The camel did save his life. Why he was dying and giving up all his attachment to the world, the camel was patiently waiting the storm out. And after the storm, the camel calmly gets up and heads in its awkward way for the nearest shade and water. It turns out that the oasis was just over the hill, and that the camel knew the most direct way and path all the time. And the nomad thought he knew the way, and he tried to go there many times, but he wouldn't follow the lead of the camel, who knew the quickest course all the time, although he was walking sideways and backwards and all this history. I'm telling you, my dear friends, this is what happened to me. This is what's happening to me at this time in my life. I realized after years in healthcare that I rode on a gift of grace, and that sometimes when I let go, that power turns my life towards the oasis that I'm seeking. And after a while, I'm taking control again and wandering away into the desert. So over these years, many times a very sublime, blissful awareness rose in my awareness, but some tendency, some flaw in my mind held me back. 15 years have gone by this way. Many experiences come, many wonderful things happen. I'm complaining about what's going on. Even so, like a nomad with a strange camel, I do not want to be different. I don't want to be different. I want to be like everybody else. This is the battle that was going on inside of me in a certain sense that I really couldn't talk about. But I don't want to be different, but I have no choice. I wonder, why do I have to go through this secret journey, this journey alone? Why couldn't I just sit at this, at the feet of some great teacher far away from this crazy world? And I was wondering, what strange force is guiding my steps? And I experienced enough happiness in my life really at this point to last 100 lifetimes, but still it's not enough. Still I'd clung to my fears and limitations. I get a sense that I may be heading for another disaster in my life, but I can't help it. On the surface, I'm successful. I have the health center that I wanted now, of my dreams. Money is flowing in. I'm the quote unquote big doctor I always wanted to be, but it's not enough. I'm disillusioned. I really wonder who is really whole in our holistic clinic. Where's the wholeness? And before me, I'm actually now living in Colorado. Before my eyes, this whole thing unravels. And within a year, these centers that I'd created, it's gone. And in spite of my best intentions, it's clear that at this stage of my life is over. And I actually give up my healthcare profession. 15 years of work really ends in a few months. The storm has come. Like my nomad, I'm buried up to my neck in sand. And my trusty camel, this energy in my life, it's with me too. And I wonder, where will it go? Where is my oasis? Even though my practice and I believe there must be a purpose behind all of this. Clinics are gone. My work is gone. and I have more skill than ever. But yet the clients, they're staying away. And I wonder why. And as I work with this is the hard work that we all need to do within ourselves. I see more deeply than ever. The bodies of my mind and clients appear like sheets of glass with many things revealed. And one morning working with the energy blocks, I feel something remarkable happens. The spiritual energy surges through my hands with incredible force. It's as almost I had two giant steel balls in my hand, filled with great power. And that energy collects for a few moments, and then it leaps onto the patient into fields of life. It moves throughout the room. It's if my hands are flashlights in the darkness, and my world becomes one of energy. Now I'm living in a space of overlapping energy fields. And I realize immediately that a breakthrough has come. There's a power of tremendous magnitude. You know, our life is deep. Our life is long. You didn't just pop out of nowhere when you came into this world. And you just don't pop into nowhere when you're ejected finally from this body. In my case, I had had some flashbacks. If you read some of the first several chapters in my book, I had flashbacks even when I was a child. Some of these past images are coming up. So in the next segment, join me again. I want to share this major breakthrough that's come at this point in my life, which has made me move in a totally different direction. So thank you for spending a few moments with me this morning, hearing about the secrets of the emerging of the enlightened mind. This is all about living an enlightened life. This work is intended to be a bridge, not only between individuals, but between cultures and traditions of the world, because I believe that the wisdom that flows through all the great and wonderful traditions of the world is the same wisdom, and the life behind it is the same. I honor you. Go out and love somebody today. Do something really nice. You know, somebody that's sorrowful, unhappy. You don't need to say anything. Just your presence can be enough. Just your presence and your intent to be with them. Just be with them. See what happens. See if your healing power comes out, and tell me about it if you can. Thank you. I'll be back. Thanks for joining us in our YouTube channel, books, podcast episodes on living the enlightened life, and autobiography with your host, Dr. James Yogadhi Weldon.